to be talking about his book, or his co-authored book, The Go-to-Market Handbook for B2B Sales Leaders, SaaS Leaders, sorry. Great book, Richard. Really enjoyed it.
Good.
And I hope you don't mind me. You also recommend the Mum's Test in the book as well, which is also a very good book.
It is.
But we're going to be talking about, yes. We're going to be talking about this today.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and I fortunately enough joined LinkedIn early enough to just be Richard Blundell on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn/Richard Blundell. Our consultancy is called Venture, VENCHA. So we're at venture.team is our website, or richard@venture.team is my direct email address. So yeah, get in contact anytime.
Okay, thank you. And your a shout out also for your co-authors, Paul Watson and Chris Tottman. And you've been working them, in my notes, it says for something like working with them on and off for something like 28 years.
Yes, we started in 1995. We were originally in the financial services industry. We were selling life and pensions to rich people in the city. And then we started selling to corporates, so businesses, company pension schemes and that sort of thing. And then when the first dot-com boom came around in sort of 1999, we felt like we ought to be on that train. And we created our first SaaS product together. I mean, you call it SaaS now. It probably wasn't called SaaS back then. But it was in the HR space where we linked HR and payroll businesses up with insurance company providers, really with the initial vision of providing more visibility over your employee benefits package, a total reward statement. And as it says in the book, in the first workbook, that was the biggest lesson we ever learned, when we realized we got our value proposition wrong, and actually benefits administration was what the pain was, and benefits visibility was just a nice to have. So yeah, the three of us have been best friends for 28 years. We've worked on and off for all that time. And 4 years ago, we got back together again to create Venture, which is a growth consultancy that helps B2B SaaS businesses become the best version of themselves.
So, I mean, you actually going to the book. It's interesting because you one of the things that you talk about in the book is the fact that you were selling this product that was your value proposition, and then one of the customers said, "Well, yeah, that's really interesting, but actually, it does this for us."
Yes, I mean, it was a miracle. I mean, would we have got there eventually? Probably, but we'd gone through 3/4 of our marketing budget, most of our sales budget. And we'd fallen into the biggest man trap that I personally believe most SaaS businesses fall into, and that is not testing their thesis enough. You know, we are the only industry in the world in software who seem to think it's all right to go to market without actually testing whether what we've created is valuable, painful, useful. Does it solve a pain that customers recognize? Is it a 3 a.m. stare at the ceiling pain? Is it a pain that actually matches up to our buying persona's objectives? We just create software, and we did it, right? So we fell into our own biggest man trap. We created a software package thinking we knew more than our clients did about what was broken in their organization, and went to market and discovered that no one was saying yes, because what we were selling was wasn't painful enough. And yeah, I mean, it was a very lucky lesson that we learned very early on. Had we not heard it then, the business would have been in real trouble. Having heard it and pivoted immediately, we picked up Tyco, Hasbro, Walt Disney Corporation, London Stock Exchange, and others as clients. So yeah, it was a very lucky break.
So using that experience, all three of you, what you've done is in effect, and I mean it explains it on the front. It's a go-to-market handbook for B2B SaaS leaders. So you created. It's 11 workbooks, isn't it?
It's 10. It's actually 10.
It's 10 plus 1.
You want 10, yeah, plus an intro.
And you work us through 10. So first and foremost, it's reconfirming your value proposition.
Yes.
And that is, and you use that term an awful lot during the book, which is it will the customer be staring at the ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, how am I going to solve this problem? Because if it's not that, it's nice to have, you won't get anywhere. Exactly.
We need to find out what that internal monologue is of our customers. What what are they thinking? Are they thinking, why is this process so broken on my watch, in my department, in my organization? We're better than this. We're a great business, and yet in my department there's a process that means we can't get our products to market quickly enough, or we don't have any visibility over our data, or conflict is being caused within my business. And if I sit in one-to-one with a member of my team complaining about how bad this process is in the organization, I'm going to scream. So we need to find out what that internal monologue is and make sure that the solution that we've created absolutely maps to that, because if it doesn't, it's going to bounce off. I think I talk about it in another presentation. It's a bit like a space shuttle returning to Earth. If you come in too flat with your value prop, you'll just bounce off and it won't resonate. And if you come in too steep, you'll just burn up. That line of trajectory is absolutely crucial. And customer pain needs to map completely to what that 3 a.m. stare at the ceiling pain is. And if it does, you really are onto a winner, because you'll find that the customers will do all they can to help you install your software or have your software accepted by their organization, because it answers very real, visceral pain for them and for their business.
Mm. And then you then go on about testing the thesis, which is where this book comes in, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I read that. Someone shoved the mum test in front of me, and I've never met Rob Fitzpatrick. I've read 2 of his books. Both his books are on my desk, one of which is the mum test. The other one is Write Useful Books. I've never met Rob. I've never communicated with him, but someone shoved the mum test in front of me very early on. And it's brilliant, because if you look at the heading of the mum test, I mean, how to create a brilliant headline, which is called the mum test. How to talk to customers and learn if your business is a good idea when everybody is lying to you. And that's exactly what the mum test is all about. If you go and ask your mum whether your software product's a good idea, she'll say, of course, darling, it's wonderful, well done, have £50,000 of your inheritance and go and set up a business. But we need to ask better questions than that. We need to ask questions like, is there money in your budget this year to solve this problem? Has the organization put solving this problem into your objectives in the next 12 months? If the answer to those 2 questions is no and no, we may need to think about a different tack, because they're not planning to improve what you would like them to improve in the next 12 months. Now, it's not to say the deal is over, but it is to say we need to come in at a different trajectory and just really find out what it is that is causing them problems. And that's why we go into, in the second workbook, the testing your thesis concept, where we find 5 or 10 buying personas and we test and we ask them to be honest. We're not allowed to lead the witness. We create a really compelling question set that draws out of them whether what we've got is actually on their radar right now. And what we invariably find is, well, thankfully, mostly it's like, yes, we absolutely recognize this pain. Oh, and by the way, you've missed a bit in your visualization, add that bit on. But what we've also found is people go, yes, I can see where you're coming at, but actually our big problem is the data. We can't get accurate data. And if you can solve that problem as well, you go, oh, okay, well, brilliant. And then on the next testing call, you highlight the data as being the problem. And you run through the process again until you refine this thing. And what would make your investors more confident, or your team more confident, than watching 5-10 videos, because we record these testing sessions, showing buying personas actively saying to you, if you can fix this for me, I will be very interested in your solution, or I will buy your solution. And it's that kind of evidence that we're looking for in software. And if you don't get it, it's got to be much better not to proceed and burn through your inheritance and your friends' money and your family's money and investors' money if what you're selling just isn't painful enough, isn't solving enough pain.
Yeah, because Rob, I mean, this is a great book, because you'll read it in a weekend. But one of the things that Rob says is that that finding no is going to save you a lot of time.
Absolutely. And if we'd gone to see Volkswagen, and to go back to our original story, and said, what's broken in your world, what hurts in administration, he'd have said, well, it's the administration of it, because I've got 3 people who spend 3 days every month adding joiners, taking off leavers, putting in pay rises, putting in holidays. And that's when he came out with the immortal line, I don't know why you sell the front end, you should sell the back end, because your solution means I only need a third of a person, one person to work a third of a day to do the same process. And that is gold dust to him. Speed, the team can be put to higher value tasks. He's got a happy team who aren't sitting there plowing through spreadsheets and, almost like crossing people out of a phone directory when they've died. That's what they were doing. And with our platform, they didn't need to do that anymore. So he'd have told us that if we just had the courage to go and ask them.
So the third workbook is about defining your ideal customer.
Yeah.
And I think that quite often we sit in our little ivory tower, don't we, and think about this, but don't really get down to the don't get to the nub of the problem.
Yes. And I think the term ICP has been chucked around and it's fairly hackneyed now. That is ideal customer profile. But what Paul and I do when we work with companies is define the perfect customer. What does the absolute middle pixel of the dartboard perfect customer look like? And what will go into that calculation will be size of organization, geography, but also things like speed to value. Have you found that with a certain vertical, they get value from your products, much faster than others? That would be a perfect customer. What's the situation that they're in today that would make them would make them perfect? Are they using a competitor's platform, which is rubbish, and your system's 20 years more modern, and that makes them a perfect customer? So it's not ideal because everyone ideal customer. It's absolutely niche, narrow. We use the phrase uncomfortably narrow.
Yes.
We would like to find 200, 300, 400 companies that you would define are your perfect customer. And we're only going to focus on them. They're the top right of our go-to-market product market fit. We're just going to spend all our marketing money on those organizations. It's not to say others won't come to us that are outside of that and they'll respond to our marketing, but all of our focus is going to be on lighting up and making ourselves famous in those 200, 300, 400 customers and no more. Because out of that, and you see in the book, I do a whole maths calculation in terms of how many we need to close against a certain close rate. Out of that, you'll find the 25 to 50 customers you need to do the next 1 million of ARR, which makes everybody happy, right? It makes your investors happy. It makes your team happy. It makes you happy. It takes the pressure off. So yeah, perfect customer, not ideal. And there is a difference.
Yeah, and I really feel that because we're not. I think that we have a tendency, don't we, to go, okay, well, the market is this big.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to market for everything on the basis that, because we've known in the past that what we have to do, well, the way that we've marketed in the past is we need to throw mud at the wall and hope it will stick.
Yes. And I'll tell you what causes that. If people are wondering what causes it, it's because we spend all our time raising money with investors, and we obsess about the TAM and the SAM and the SOM and look
target addressable market. TAM.
Yeah, total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, service achievable market. So we spend all this time saying our opportunity is billions, it's global, it's massive, it's magnificent, and the investors go, oh wow, that's exciting. And if they believe in you, they'll invest in you, and if they don't, they won't. But if they do believe in you, and you then go back to the office, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, but particularly in the early stages, or if the business has gone a bit flat and the air's gone out of the tires, you need to forget all of that, to forget the global market and world domination and, Alexander the Great and the sun will never set on my empire. We should just be thinking, right, get narrow. Who are the next 25? Who are the next 50? Who are the next 100? And to do that, you need to build a list of about 400 absolutely perfect customers. And if you've done your testing right and your customers agreed that they have this pain and they have this problem, then your challenge is now only a marketing one, because it's broken, they're all talking to each other. And there's another theme we talk about a lot, really, which is all of our ideal buying personas or perfect buying personas are on a WhatsApp channel of peers, right? They've been to an event, they've written something, they've collaborated on a podcast, they've done a blog together, or they just like to keep each other up to date with what's happening around. That WhatsApp channel is gold dust to us. So if we can get 25 customers and we successfully implement them, not delighted customers, we successfully implement them, all the integrations work. It doesn't take 9 months to set up. It's a very fast, very quick setup. They get value from it very quickly. We assess which products that parts of the product they really like, the dashboarding or whatever. And if they then share your website on that, it's what we call dark social, but on that WhatsApp channel, that is the nirvana, because the next 25 customers after this first 25 will come at you very, very, very quickly. So yeah, get your investor brain off and forget it and leave it till the next time you need to raise money, and just get really, really narrow and really tight and focus on those perfect customers, because you've proven they're in pain. You know they're in pain. You just need to market to them now to light up and say, we've got the solution.
Fantastic. And so that brings us on to Workbook 4, which is building your market map.
Yeah. And this is probably slightly different. I mean, in the book, what I love about the mum test, apart from the fact it's brilliant and it just has, it's so valuable and so useful. I use it all the time. It's on my desk. Is that it's 100 pages long, right?
Yes.
So he's had a great idea and he's only written 100 pages. And I think we got a bit tired of books that were 400 pages long that had a good idea in chapter 1 or chapter 2 and then spent 8 more chapters just reiterating.
Tell him what you're going to tell them. Tell them again. Tell them again. Tell them again, and then tell them what you tell them.
Yeah, so we wanted to cover a lot of distance, but quite thin. So we didn't want to, just bore people with one idea. But we could have written a book about each of the workbooks, right? They're all subjects of interest, and I think the market map is different, because we all know what a market map is, and these are the perfect customers we're going to target. I think the nuance we put on it that's different is we actually create a Facebook, which is nothing to do with with the online social channel. It's literally 400 faces on a piece of paper or on a screen, because I think you need to have visibility of the names and the people and the faces that are going to determine whether your software product succeeds or doesn't. It's that simple. If 50 people out of that 400 buy your products, your SaaS product is going to be a huge success. You'll have changed the world. You'll have left a dent in the universe. So it started off with me putting logos of companies I wanted to talk to on the wall when I was a sales director. I just somehow felt if I put their logos up, they would come towards me. And it's now evolved into, and it sounds like creepy, but it's not. But it's just, I want to know what they look like. I want to know who they are. I want to know what they're interested in. I need to know what they like. If they're a Fulham fan or a Man United fan or a cricket fan or whatever they like, I want to know who they are, because I need a hook in which to talk to them in. I want to research them. What are they interested in? What are they writing about? What are they blogging about? Customer intimacy is a real Achilles heel of most businesses, actually, but particularly in software. We need to know these people intimately. We need to empathize with them. We need to understand their industry, understand their world. And that's why some of the greatest salesmen in the world are great empathizers rather than great, communicators, because they spend time in empathizing. But yeah, Workbook 4 is how to build your market map Facebook.
I love it when you talk about actually producing the faces, because it's a bit like an actor, isn't it? Where the person, the actor, is saying, so what am I feeling, and explain to me when this happened, and that it's about creating that as you said, that Facebook.
It's a very prescient thought, Tim. I hadn't thought about it that way in terms of acting. I mean, we thought about it in terms of sport, how a 100-meter runner actually visualizes the hurdles before they go, or a Formula One driver does the same. And I think, if you and your sales team cannot visualize the kind of people that you want to talk to and really get, remotely intimate with them and understand their world, then you've got a problem. And if you can, and you get to know them, they all know each other. They all know each other. When I was a financial advisor, I hated cold calling. So I had to get very good at asking for referrals, because I was terrified of cold calling. And so I did get good at referrals. And that's where the sort of first real growth step for me came. We've forgotten how to ask for referrals. All the people on that Facebook will know each other well. They might well have their mobile number on their phone. So if you've done an amazing job for those first 25, they won't hesitate to recommend you to their colleagues, because they want them to do well.
I agree. And, if you're looking at, regardless of whether they're competitors or whether they're friends, they'll still know each other.
Absolutely. And that's why we quite like, when we do the testing the thesis, to go back to all of them at the end and say, can we show you what everybody else is saying? And just that gives them comfort of knowing other people in their vertical are suffering the same pain, and actually finding a conjoined solution, particularly if you're selling somewhere like social housing, or where they're very, very happy to share. It's all about doing well for everybody rather than well for themselves. So yeah, I mean, get on that WhatsApp channel, figure out that's your nirvana. That is your goal. That WhatsApp channel is the place that you want to get onto, and you'll only get onto it if you've delivered a phenomenal service. And they'll talk about it, and people will come in and say, "Oh yeah, I've seen them. They're great. They do da 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 da," and you're off to the races. They'll hit your website and you're off.
Richard, the 20 minutes goes very, very quickly. It's been fantastic. Been fantastic talking to you.
Yeah,
and I loved your book, and I think it's a great read. And I'm just making sure. And so, where can we find a copy of that?
It's on Amazon. It's one of the best-selling product management books on Amazon now. It's sold in 15 different countries. It's been a huge success. We only launched in September, but we're very close to 4 figures on the sales, and it's on Amazon, and it's just had phenomenal feedback. We're so pleased with it.
Good. And Paul, I think, has made a comment as well, which is good.
Yeah, he's probably tuned in on LinkedIn. I connected the channels up, so
excellent. Yeah. Richard, where can people find you?
So venture.team, VENCHA, or Richard@venture, VENCHA.team, or on LinkedIn, which is just LinkedIn/Richard Blundell.
Richard, thank you so much for coming on and talking to
us. Thank you for having me. It's been fabulous. It's gone too quick.
It does go to. I could talk to you for an hour about this easily, Richard, but nobody would watch it.
No, I agree. Well, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. Really good to talk to you, Richard.